Tim, I'll show you later the shirt. I have it today.
Okay, great.
Okay.
We are now
yeah,
live.
From the last time we were in New York.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. It depends on where you're coming from in the world. Good evening in Italy to Daniele, and good morning to those on the Pacific Coast. Actually, I'm here in Denver. I'm Dan Gay, Chief Marketing Officer of BlockSearch Blockchain. And this morning it was 22 degrees and snowing when I took my dog out. So we've got something certainly new in the air here. But I would like to welcome everyone to the World from Here Q&A.
Well, 22 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit,
so
that is.
If you're Daniele from Canada and Rome, 22 degrees is very hot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Fahrenheit, yes. So it was very cold. So we'd like to get this kicked off. Thanks everyone for joining us. And we had a very impactful webinar last week, and we had 2 times the number of participants thanks to using YouTube Live and actually streaming over our own video platform service. So very exciting here again this morning. I'd like to welcome our guests and panelists, Mr. Tim Vasco, who's the Chief Executive Officer and the founder of BlockSearch Blockchain. Good morning there, Tim.
Thanks, Dan. Nice to be here, as always.
Yeah. Yep, always, every Friday. And then also Daniele Minci, who's the president of Fusion STX and Fusion Funder. Good evening to you, Daniele.
Thank you, Dan. This is 23 degrees Celsius.
Celsius. That's a different deal there.
It is not snowing.
Yeah.
So we had quite a few questions that came in over the week, but there's one question that I would like to really start with, and that is we had a call with a VC yesterday, and his first question was, what's your unique selling proposition, which is always a good one to start with, especially when we're talking about the digital dozen and the 12 important tools that every business, everybody needs to perform and to use in their daily business life. But what's unique about all of these 12, but also just the overall proposition? I know that's something that we were talking about during the call then, and then after the call, and then this morning. So Tim, I'll open that up to you, because I think this is really important to really start. It's not just about each of the individual components, which are all very important, all very different and unique versus the 12 digital solutions out there. But overall, as a global component, what's our unique selling proposition?
Well, Dan, this is it. You're watching it right now.
It is, yes.
This is it. We're on our own platform. We're streaming. I am talking to you, Daniele, all over the world. I'm interacting with you, and you know what? We're streaming business. We are e-streaming business right now. We're not gamers. We're doing real life stuff. But if anybody's aware of what's happening in the streaming communities, Twitch and Among Us apparently is the big one now, and at least it is in my household. And what we're doing is we're reinventing, and we have reinvented the way we interact in a virtual world. So the example I use is if a real estate agent and a buyer got together, typically they got in a car, drove around to houses, looked at those things, and they were interacting and talking. If a house was found, they'd pick up the phone, they'd call their mortgage broker. Daniele said this over and over again about the way finance used to be done, where we would all jump on airplanes, meet each other, go to events, do meetups, all different types of things like that to raise capital or to pitch our deals. Pretty much everything that we used to do was about interaction.
Right.
So when we look at function and we look at something like the idea that we shared last week of function, all of these tools have functioned for some time in the real world. relying on interaction being done by physically being present. But what we've done at BlockCerts for over a decade now is worked on that interaction where you can have that real world immediate interaction, eliminate a lot of the costs and hurdles like multiple logins and having to go from here to do a video meeting to here to sign something to maybe over here to have a chat to over here to store it to, you know, each one of those just go from the left to the right. And basically it takes you all the way from one of these tools to meet up all the way through to manage everything, including identity and payment. And being able to do that real time, live, have a video chat, do an IM, do your document signing, handle everything in one place, and record it to a ledger, because guess what? You were actually there in the real world. You could see it on your odometer in your car, and you could have selfies taken together. You can't do that anymore in a lockdown world. And certainly it's way more efficient to do it in one place. Our unique selling proposition, you can have the real full experience in one place and do it all, log it all, get it done, move on to the next one and do it over again. Just like you used to do when you went from meeting to meeting to meeting.
Right. It's like stepping into your own virtual office, but it's just like being there.
It's being there. It is.
Can I add a perspective? Can I add a perspective there?
Yes.
Because there is a very big difference of let's say introducing our platform and our commitment by saying that our unique selling point is kind of virtualizing something that was done, let's say, differently, mostly relying on face-to-face, on a brick-and-mortar solution. It's not only about that. It's much more about signaling the importance of not traveling to do your day-by-day business, which is profoundly different. Which is, when you travel, most of the time, you give a signal to yourself and to the rest of the people you're working with, your clients, your customer, whatever, that is because you travel, that trip is important and has to be meaningful in the interactions you're running. But if you virtualize this, you need to give the same perspective of the signal we are providing to our clients. So our commitment is not to replace something which is human in a software, in a piece of software. Our commitment is to create a richer interaction to our client throughout, obviously, our apps that Tim will better explain or will further explain by enhancing these type of interactions to a new level. That's the unique selling point. Obviously, we'll talk about capital market and all the rest, but it's not the cheapest way of doing business. It's a brand new way of doing business.
And to that point, Daniele, I think it's really important. We show a lot of these decks and slides. On these webinars, we're trying to show people what a new environment looks like. But we're going to give you next week a live stream and do a business transaction live on this on the world from here, because the world from here is that, isn't it? And we were headed there anyway. Like we were in 2017, I was explaining, why would you go to a bunch of bankers in New York? I'm like, why would you go to these events? It's incredibly expensive. It's incredibly disruptive to your day. People have to travel. The cost was exceptional. So again, as you said, not efficient at all. And this was all on a maybe we'll find something that we can integrate into our bank. Well, guess what? Now you can do that in the matter of minutes. And if it's there, and if it's live, and if you can use it immediately, what's the impact to the bottom line?
Right.
And I always tell people this, why blockchain? I want to get into that because that was another question. Well, this young individual we were talking to said, well, I get blockchain, but I don't really know that I buy into the whole blockchain thing. The reality is there's nothing to buy into. This is a piece of technology that validates everything we do, and nobody can mess with the records. You can't easily roll your odometer on your car back, and in most places it's illegal to do that if you're going to go sell your car. So this is the kind of thing that's a complete misconception about what blockchain is and what we've created. Have we kind of created a entirely new set of tools? No, we didn't need to. What we needed to do was take all of those tools. Hey, the phone existed. Last week I showed video calls existed since 1964, but they weren't usable and they didn't interact in the way the world was or is today. It wasn't until 2016 that WhatsApp actually put out their first video call. Look at where we are 4 years later. That's all we do. Everybody does this. This week, earlier, my wife had book club on a video call. So the reality of where we're at today is using these new technologies and embedding them. And that's what took us a decade to build, Dan.
Correct. So again, it's a new way of doing work differently, but more efficiently and more effectively than even being in the office. You think about drive time between driving in and driving home, and being able to apply that in a digital fashion. And one of the things that we'll continue to show week after week is new ways of working, because it's not just about the applications and how those might work, but it's how you can work to do things more efficiently and more effectively.
Absolutely.
So, yep, great. So that would be one of the other questions. How do you work differently? I know we could spend hours talking about that one. And then, to me, it's one place to work, one place to go to. So another question was, are there integrations needed for all 12? And so that was one of the questions that just came through this morning, which also goes to the main point of one place to work. So Tim,
well,
that question to you.
Talk about one place, because I want to clear that up. And what I mean by that is we've said how BlockCerts is distributing the cloud.
Right.
So the first thing about one place to work, let's not get that confused with one centralized database, and let's not get that confused with, do we have to do integrations? The reason we created the platform the way we did is so you can easily use all of these tools or build your own, just like an app store, or bring your own to the table. You can also plug this into your existing environment and just go and get started and move. The way we're delivering that today is you simply put in your name, email, and tell us what you want to do on a flow, and we will deliver it to you. The way we'll deliver it tomorrow is you can drag and drop. That's versioning. Right now, if you look at this image, what we've done is we've created this cloud environment that does two things. One, allows you to interact in any way you need to on the fly. Do everything you need to on the fly. And those are all in containers. And the second thing is we've distributed it so you control the data, you control the technology, you don't have to pay a monthly license fee. And why is that important? If I was ever convinced that it needed to be done so that all this centralized data and power is starting to be distributed into people's hands, I was never more convinced than this week when this happened. And this happened and has changed the game completely, which is going to pop up on your screen in 1 second here with a bunch of ads from the guys whose tools I'm using, and it happened too. And there you go. That's what's happening in the world of centralized power. So what makes us unique, Dan, and what makes this platform powerful? It's that it's ahead of where the world's at, where we realize all these things are challenges that we've created as we brought out the internet. Centralized power, centralized source of information, all of our data being completely 100% used. Nothing is free. It's used to monetize, and the amount of centralized control that's happened on the internet. So when we deal with that and we add in all of this functionality so that we can do all these things, but we have control, that is a complete transformation and a complete rethinking of what we need to do to run virtually as a world.
Correct. And one of the questions that came in, Tim, you and I were meeting probably over a year ago, and one of your statements was, we fix the issues that the internet created, which I think is still every week, with last week Slack going down, and this week with Shopify having issues, the secure virtual containers and secure virtual space of having one place to go and having that be a secure place to go to is paramount to what businesses are finding in working in this digital world. So it's not just protecting your data, but it's protecting your customers, and it's also protecting your identity. And so if you might talk a little bit about that, both you and Daniele.
Well, I think that as you said, Dan, you know, this idea of what's unique and what issues did the internet, this whole world, create. Wherever there's an issue, as we're learning with the pandemic, there's also an opportunity.
Right.
We all could do video meetings before this. We really could. We could also go shopping before this. But the question you ask yourself if you're running a business is, what's your unique selling proposition? It's actually a really good question.
For every business to continue to ask themselves.
For every business, what's your unique selling proposition? And you just reminded me of this exercise we went through when we were building out our video platform. And one of these companies, it's a very large company, was telling us, well, this is why you should use our video platform. We were going through all that. We actually started down the build, and every time we had a meeting, we were on Zoom. We weren't on their video platform. So I'm going to point this out again. We're doing this now, today, on the BlockSearch platform. Right now, we're interacting with a very powerful company and tool that has just been sued for antitrust, but we're working with them. It's about integration. It's about transformation. It's about collaboration. It's about interaction. So when we looked at this a decade ago, when I wrote the patent a decade ago, I said, it's not about managing your customer relationship. It's about three things. It's about managing your business. It's about messaging and interacting, and it's about addressing your market. What we've done is integrated all of those, and it's absolutely critical. That's how the world works. People are not linear. Business is not linear. Work is not linear. Life is not linear. It changes all the time. There's on-ramps and off-ramps, and they hit you without you even knowing it. You just need a platform to allow you to do that. The more you can do that for your own business, and the more you can do that for your customers, the more unique you are. It's how you address those changes on the fly that give you your unique selling proposition. And when we centralize everything and we give that control and power to somebody else, all of a sudden, are you unique?
Yeah. Can I add one topic there? I'm so pumped to comment on this, because I was reflecting actually about this tonight, and that was not kind of planned to answer like this. To me, the unique selling proposition, it's very tailored, I would say tailor-made to how Silicon Valley has been building businesses towards a single use case. I mean, I'm just thinking about Dropbox, for example, and the story behind the founders of this company thinking about a single problem out of a complex interaction, isolate it, call it unique selling point, and sell it as such, as the best way of doing it. That's, to me, the unique selling point or unique selling proposition. What we're doing is very different. We are not isolating one item and making, in the best possible manner, as Steve Jobs has done for the UI and UX. We are just redefining how business interact in a multitude of interfaces and stakeholders environment. So is this a unique selling point? Yes, it is. Is it this, done as any better in the world? Cannot really say. But our unique selling point is to redefine how business functions and building the interface that we have envisioned that make the business more efficient. That's I would not call it unique selling point. It's a multiple selling point because it's a multidimensional and it creates Tim has talking about nonlinearity, and I would talk about a cross second order effect, because as long as you improve something, you might have an exponential result out of this improvement. Is this a selling proposition? Yes, it is. It's a unique? Probably not, because it's multiple.
Okay. And Daniele, that's an excellent point. And as you talk about that, it makes me think this. When you go to our platform, there's a lot of stuff that is there, and we talk about Fusion Funder. So what happens to a business in the real world? What happens in the real world is you get an opportunity if you've got a business and you need capital. You don't do one thing at a time. Ask any entrepreneur, ask any manager, ask anybody who works. You do a dozen things at a time. That's why we call it the digital dozen. You're spinning plates constantly. You need capital, boom. How are you going to get it? You're going to go to your banker and borrow money? We all know that the bank will give you money against collateral. It's most of the time money that you have already in the bank. And my dad was always of the opinion, and I believe this is pretty common out there, never go to the bank when you need money. Go to the bank when you don't need money.
Can I add there? And it's the same when you party and you are in a desperate hunt of a girlfriend, you probably will not end up in finding one, right? But at the end of the day, you're still going to party, because party is a signaling that perhaps you might create links, and out of those links, something will happen. Magic eventually happen. It's exactly the same in the raise of capital or in the development of what we're trying to do with the Fusion Funder. It's not an assurance that you're going to raise money, because you have to work, you have to do something, you have to show, you have to prove it. But at the end of the day, it signals and it connects to counterparties from all over the world that something can happen. And it's a brand new change in the way capital market works, because capital markets today work on static interfaces, mostly built on static interactions. We try to open up in a world of pandemic, which is perhaps it's a challenge, but at the same time, it will give robustness to this way of thinking and in our technology.
And what a business actually needs to do is, let's say they're successful at getting some capital. Then what do they need to do? They need to execute. They need to execute incredibly efficiently. That's why you hear things like, which round are you in? Seed round, Series A, Series B, Series C. That means that you're successfully executing. What happens is most companies never get past the friends and family round. They never even get to a seed round. They never even get to a Series A, because they can't execute well, or they get lost, or they need support. And what Daniele just described, as you were describing it, Daniele, it came into my head, is the foundation and the fundamental Nobel Prize winning process of game theory. Game theory is predictive modeling based on interactions. And there is tremendous amount of work that's been done mathematically to prove that these interactions enforce and create other interactions. It is exactly what this technology is built on. It's what AI is modeled after. This is how it works. This is the semantic web. It's a new era of the use of technology, and it's been brought to complete light, complete demand from the pandemic. That is the digital dozen. It's way more than a dozen, actually. There is no such thing as ones and zeros. Ones and zeros in original computer logic were binary. This is now quantum. It is moving in a direction that is unpredictable. And we won't get into quantum physics here or AI or any of that. But the point is that when we use distributed cloud computing theory, you get back to what reality is. We were distributing work through airplanes, hotel rooms, and conferences. Today, we're distributing that exact same amount of interaction through all the things we can do in our platforms. What we've done, what's our unique selling proposition, Dan?
Well, it's interactions.
One interactive place where you can actually execute on what you need to do.
Correct. Which I was just thinking after that call yesterday, but about interactions one place. And a few weeks ago, I was asked to come help out build a deck on a Saturday, and there was a person there, and I'll talk about an analogy here, but there was a person there that didn't have a tool belt on, and was walking from one place to the next to pick up his hammer, to go pick up his drill, to go get the box of screws. And, our solution is like your construction tool belt. It's all on your hip. It's all right there, everything in one place, so that you're not walking over to get one thing that you set down and then having to, use and find your access and password for one versus another. And that was one of the questions that was asked yesterday, is why would someone use your service versus any of the other 12? And I think, missing the point, which is having one place to interact and do business differently. So I know that's not really a question, but why would...
And in essence, Dan, that's what we've always done.
Right.
That's what we've always done. Where did you go when you were going to the office? You didn't go to 5 different places. You went to one
place.
Drove in. Once you were in your office, once you were in your organization, you could get everything accomplished you needed to right there.
Correct.
And if you needed to extend your footprint, what did you do? You left the office, you went home, you packed a suitcase, and you drove to the airport and you flew. Right. And that was Interaction 101 on globalization. This is Interaction 401 on globalization and extending your footprint. You no longer are restricted to those physical means. And in some cases, like right now, I can't even get on an airplane and go to a meeting from Canada to the United States. And I heard maybe, again, Canada is going to be closed off to Europe. So how do I keep going? How do you keep going when that is a reality? And how long is that reality going to be? We don't know.
Well,
but the question is, let me just finish.
Yeah.
If it dropped tomorrow, would you go back to doing that? I would. This is way more efficient, way more effective, and we're providing a dozen ways that you can reinvent your unique selling proposition. That's what it's about. So it was an interestingly positioned question that brought up a lot of thinking about why we need a better way to have platforms on the cloud.
Correct.
Can I just add a topic to 20 seconds, because I have a real world example talking to a client this week. So in fact, think about, you have a company and you do whatever business you're doing, but then you have an idea and you want to build a business model on top of your business, and the business model you want to build might not be 100% in sync with what you're doing. So the first question you ask yourself is, how can I do this in a legacy environment, which I've been building in the last, let's say, 15 years? and it's extremely complicated to touch a single element of a legacy environment. So we don't have to explain the digital dozen like, let's rethink how Apple works with a new Salesforce, a new Jumio, a new Shopify. It's not something like this. The main use case at which we expect the digital dozens to be used is let's have a legacy environment dealing with a new idea. How can I use all the components of a puzzle to test the idea, being successful on the market, and to scale in a proper manner? That is what the digital dozen is about. Because at the end of the day, if you try to touch your legacy, you end up in spending a huge amount of money and a huge amount of time, and highly likely you end up in a no-go to move forward. But going this direction, it helps as of day one, or perhaps in a couple of weeks, to have an MVP that you can test your business model in a live environment with all the fully fledged functionalities. That's, to me, the best way to explain why you need to have all those little components in a very complex environment to work each other, because you don't want to touch legacy environment.
I can't believe that we're through our podcast time, Dan.
I can't either. 30 minutes. Boom.
You're exactly right. That's exactly what we're talking about here. But we're out of time today, and so we want to be respectful of everybody's time. We hope we've answered a few questions. Next week's webinar is going to be super exciting because we are adding interaction to all of our webinars from the world from here. We want to help you build your unique selling proposition. We want to help you become that global footprint leader and understand how using the digital dozen, the secure virtual space, and a platform mentality that you own and control in your own cloud will bring just a giant new set of revelations and opportunities to your world. So that's the world from here. And with that, I'd like to say thank you, and stay safe, stay healthy, stay digital, and keep your dozen in order.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much, Daniele.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, join us again. And if you have any questions, we're at blocksearch.com, and just click there. You can go to our 800 number, give us a call, or send us a note in the contact area. But we're starting to onboard people through a concierge service so that we help you to realize all the benefits of one place and being interactive in one environment. So please give us a contact. And then next week, we're going to be talking about something that's really unique and revolutionary, and can't wait to start showing and sharing that. So thanks again.
And remember to subscribe and give us a thumbs up, and please visit our channel and follow us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.